Okay, folks. Well, this is part 7 and the last part of my series on pre-code horror comic book reprints. So let's start off with a couple of basic types of facsimile reprints that you can readily find on eBay, probably a few other places. So, for instance, here we go with Journey into Fear, as you can see, and this is issue number 7, yes. Issue number 7, and it's just literally somebody scanned their issue. It's in color. You can see that, and it looks pretty good. It's just staple bound, you know. So very basic type of idea here with this facsimile reprint, and it does still have the original ads, as you can see. The whole thing. So it's complete as a reprint goes, and they're not too bad. I think I paid like, I don't know, $8 for these on eBay. So not bad. You're not going to get for a facsimile reprint. You're not going to get a lesser price. So recommended. You know, they're decent if you want a reader copy. Okay, that's the key right there. And here's another one, which is one of my favorites, actually. I do not, unfortunately, own the original, but this great issue of Horrific is just amazing. Check that out. I'm going to go in, kind of pull back. The Puppeteers. It's just a great cover. This is Iger Shop art, so it's probably 2 or 3 artists, I would imagine, involved with this. And I do believe this is Horrific number 2. Doesn't say on the cover, but I'm pretty sure it is. Very rare, extremely expensive if you find originals. So if you do, you're one lucky person, But for me, the reprint here has to do. And once again, I got this on eBay. And it's you know, it's worth getting. They're $8 or so. They may have gone up in price. I don't know. I bought these a few years ago, so I don't know. But here we go with actually a kind of a hefty compilation called "They Came from the '50s." Yes, it's pretty cool, actually. This is from Malibu Graphics. Yeah, Malibu Graphics, Mickey Villa, and they just have a ton. As you can see, here's the contents: a ton of stories reprinted. Yeah, from Haunted Thrills, Eerie One, which is totally cool. Web of Evil, Witches' Tales, a lot of that in here. Several Eries. And the thing is, of course, is that they are in the black and white. So, yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. The reproductions are all right, as you can see here. I think they look pretty decent. So it's if you can get a good deal on this, it's worthwhile. I forget what I paid for it. I think it was definitely under $10. So worthy. It's a good one. Here's another facsimile, and this time they really did do it like a comic. This is The Dead Who Walk. Okay, and this was a one-shot, pre-code one-shot in the 1950s. And so what they did is they literally made it like a comic. The whole deal. It's actually a pretty well done. Once again, they scanned a comic. So you can see there, it's just kind of dark. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as PS Art Books or IDW, for example. So, however, it is pretty good. It's kind of hard to find this. And so if you're looking for a good reader copy, this is a good one to check out, but decent quality. They're around $10, I want to say. Not particularly cheap, but they're still pretty good. Here we go with Eclipse. Now, Eclipse was one of my favorites, absolutely, of the 80s and 90s. I just loved they did a lot of pre-code reprints. Of course, the Rockets here, one of my favorite quote unquote superheroes of all time in the comics, actually. And that's has a lot to do with the wizardry of Dave Stevens, the great artist who unfortunately passed away in 2008. So this is Mr. Monster's Weird Tales of the Future. And you can see that the cover is Basil Rathbone. Oh God, Basil Wolverton, the guy that went on. He did a lot of. You would recognize his insanely ugly faces and so forth in Mad Magazine. And this is actually the reprints on this. Eclipse did a really good job, as you can see there. Very clean, really well done, highly recommended. Much like their Seduction of the Innocent series, they don't mess around. They do a really great job. So all of these Eclipse comics reprints are totally worthwhile, and you can pick them up pretty cheaply, like I don't know, $3 to $6 a piece, somewhere in that realm, and they are well worth it. Very, very, very decent reproductions. Yeah. Now this one, Gratu Orlov, the great Gratu Orlov, uh, currently in a bunker in Antarctica. He was talking about this comic book company. Now, this is Doc Weird's Thrill Book, and I think he was. This is Imagination Comics. I'm pretty sure that I. Oh, sorry, that I there. It's Imagination Comics or something like that. I don't know. But in any case, this is pretty cool. Great Frazetta cover right there. Nice. I'm not sure where that's taken off of. Oh, Forbidden Worlds #1, 1951. Okay. So that's originally was in Forbidden Worlds, the cover of Forbidden Worlds #1, 1951. And it's a totally cool cover. You can see there, of course, the unmistakable Frazetta style. Okay. The unfortunate factor is that on the inside cover, the thrill on the cover came through. Okay, it's the way they printed it, and it covers the face of an otherwise fantastic illustration by the one and only Virgil Finlay. So that was kind of a screw up, and well, there you go. It just happened. But these are black and whites. However, they're really clean, nice looking reprints. So if you can find a copy, get this one. It's quite nice. It's just great to see pre-code, Golden Age or Atomic Age, as Captain Strangelove likes to say. Frank Frazetta. It's really totally cool. So that's that one. Now we're coming up to Blackthorne. Now Blackthorne they've done a lot of great stuff. Blackthorne Publications. This is a good one. This is Jerry Iger's all horror issue of the Golden Features series. Okay, and really cool. Of course, Jerry Iger, the Iger Shop. Okay, the infamous squad from the pre-code era that did a ton of comic books. Yeah, from ranging from haunted thrills, to fantastic fears. I just a ton. You name it, they did it. Of course, a lot of feral, a ton of superior comics stuff. Iger Shop was there. So, in any case, this is the all horror issue, and the reproductions are pretty good. They're clean. They're black and white. Okay, so don't expect color on this one, but they are good. They're pretty sharp. I recommend it. Yeah, you can pick it up. Once again, you can pick it up cheap for a few bucks. So you have nothing to lose, folks. There we go. We're getting. As you recall, I did an entire video on the great Tales Too Terrible to Tell from NEC, New England Comics. Okay, now this is just a one shot they did called Extinct. And basically, this is a one shot where they reprint stories that are, well, perhaps really too terrible to tell. They're so insane and bad that they had to just reprint them in a volume. So, you got some really weird stuff in here. It's pretty funny. For instance, like Satanus. Okay, this guy plays his violin, drives people crazy, as you can see, with the shrieking music. And so that's just one of the stories. There's a ton in here. I recommend it as a weird oddity. I think they did a very good job of the reproducing. It's black and white again, but it's very decent reproduction for black and white, and highly recommended. And once again, you can pick them up for, I don't know, I think $5 to $10, something like that. Now we're getting back to Mr. Monster here. Now this is Mr. Monster's Schlock, which is pretty cool. Great cover. I just love these covers. Of course, Mr. Monster was originally the Michael Gilbert comic book, and that lasted, I don't know, God, at least a dozen issues. And then he did these kind of pre-code reprint issues with Mr. Monster as the host, which is totally cool, and they're really well done. And they are also in color, which is totally cool, as you can see here. That's the prologue by Michael Gilbert. And you can see the art Michael Gilbert is a great artist, man. He's just fantastic, phenomenal. And you got Mr. Schlock, or Mr. Monster's Schlock. This is, once again, these are just like strange stories they curated, put into this magazine. Weird tales of communism. There was the whole Red Scare of the 50s, and so there's a few stories in there that revolve around that, and it's very amusing. Well worth the $4 or $5 you're going to pay for it. And Mr. Monster's High Octane Horror, and another one from Eclipse, of course. These are Eclipse comics. God, some of his Gilbert's art is just fantastic. Really, the intros to these comics are really great. You can just, I mean, Gilbert is really something. He's a great artist. Great artist. So the intros alone are worth the price, but once again, the quality of the color reproductions are just fantastic. Check that out, Dr. Drew, The Secret Files. I mean, you can't beat that, folks, for a reproduction. Let me find a really cool. Oh God, yeah, they've got Basil Wolverton, the Basil Wolverton classic, "The Man Who Never Smiled." That is just fantastic. Basil Wolverton art. Once again, as you can see, very clean, very well done. I highly recommend this. Mr. Monsters, high octane horror, Eclipse Comics, of course, the 80s. And I love the back cover too. Marvel Comics 25th anniversary. What about Jack? I just, there you go. Eclipse, love you guys. Well worth it. Highly recommended. Eclipse Comics. Okay. This is I think there were just 3 issues of this. This was Eternity Comics, and they just simply did 3 issues of reprints called 50s Terror. Here you go. Classic pre-code horror. And so you can see the cover here is from Weird Chills #2. That's, of course, the great Bernard Bailey right there, cover. And the reprints are good. They're black and white, but they're clean. They look pretty darn good, actually. Can I get in there? There we go. As you can see, I think they're very decent. So the series is well worth it. Here they take it's the cover is it doesn't hold up to the great Lee Elias's great cover for Witch's Tales #13, which is just a fantastic cover of the Witch's Tales series. But once again, the interiors are decent, black and white. They're cheap. You can get them for $2 or $3. Another great Lee Elias for 50s terror. The classic morgue image. And Lee Elias is just one of those guys. He did so many covers for Harvey, and so many great ones, many of which command high prices. If you look at some Chamber of Chills stuff, whoo, yeah, he's way up there. So, highly recommended 50s terror series, of which I believe there were 3. Next, we move on to Recollections. Now, Recollections, somebody was saying, and it could have been Captain Strangelife, or it was Gratu, that Recollections is a Harvey deal, okay? Because all these are Harvey, all these stories, and they are in black and white, as you can see here, and they do a good job. But it's all Harvey stuff. They have a little thing on the inside. There you go. You can see Black Cat, the Red Demon, and of course Silver Scream down there. So they reprint all of the Harvey pre-code comics, and they did well. I've got 3 issues. I believe they did 3 for the pre-code horror stuff, and they did a good job. It's in black and white. The originals were in color. What can be said? It would have been much better, of course, if they'd done them in color, but it's a lot cheaper to do them in black and white. Here's the first issue. And, once again, they're decent reproductions for black and white, and they're cheap. God, I think I picked them up for $1.50 each, something like that. This was a few years ago, granted, but I think they're worth it. Another Lee Elias cover. There we go. This is just great. They did a really good. I mean, color wise, obviously it doesn't stack up to the original Harvey pre-code, but they do a really great job with the coloring on that. Here we go with the one shot. To my knowledge, I don't think they came out with a second one, but this is AC Comics, Bill Black, I believe. Wall of Flesh. There you go. And once again, it's reprints. Let's take a look here. I'll find a good. Jeez Louise, dude. Ah, here we go. Yes, this is pretty decent. Here's the of course, the titular story, the Wall of Flesh, and as you can see on top there, who is it? None other than Dr. Death. So that signifies that this particular story was reprinted from This Magazine is Haunted, because Dr. Death was the host of This Magazine is Haunted. So there you go. Wall of Flesh. I think it's worthy. You can pick them up. You should be able to get them for around $2 or $3. So, I think it's worth the price, definitely. This one, another one shot, as far as I know, came out in 2009, called Web of Scares, Special Collector's Edition, number 1, 2009. And of course, they have the werewolf story on the cover. And the reprints are pretty good. They're a little muddy at times because they just directly, scan the original comics and then converted them to black and white. And it kind of, as you can see, it kind of makes everything darker, obviously. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, although it's a hefty, 66 pages. He gets a lot of stories in here and some really good ones. The Fiend from Outer Space. Pretty cool. So, if you can find it cheap, get it. There we go with, I've got one and one only issue of AC Comics Crypt of Horror. Now, this is, God, I don't know. It says, maybe this is issue 1. I don't know, volume 1. 120 pages right there. I hope so, because the original sticker price is $25 freaking dollars. I don't know where they came up with that number. I mean, 120 pages is great and everything. It's just black and white, I mean, the reproductions are pretty clean. I think it's, I have really no complaints. They're clean enough. They look good and everything, but yeah, you got to really look around to get the deal on these. And I would never buy one of these for more than, I don't know, $8 or $9 maximum. Seriously, somewhere in there. I don't know what the hell the $25 is all about, but there you go. That's Crypt of Horror. Worth it if you can get it sub $10. And the last but not least, folks, here is a very decent facsimile of Skeleton Hand. Skeleton Hand. There he is, right there. and he's as you can see, he's performing during a full moon hootenanny of zombies and witches and so forth. And this is a just iconic pre-code horror cover right here. You know, skeleton hand, secrets of the supernatural, and I love it. I really love it. Actually, I took this and I made an animation that you can see in my film Haunted Thrills. It's just a little, one of those 5-second segues to another chapter in the film. But I just love this cover. It's just so great. And so they did a great job with the cover, as you can see. I mean, it really does. It looks like the comic, but sadly, the inside is just black and white. So that's where they get you. And I believe I paid like $10 for this thing. Yeah. But there it is. If you can find it for under 10, it's a cool facsimile. It makes for a fantastic reader copy for somebody who's got the original and who doesn't want to take that thing out to read it, and ogle it. Well, get yourself a cheap facsimile, and here it is, right? You can do that. I do believe that obviously ACG PS Art Books has got the entire series reprinted in glorious color, perfectly done. If you want a high-end reprint, go to psartbooks.com. This one I got on eBay, and it says Avalon Communications publisher, 1997, in Canada. Weird, huh? So yeah, so that takes care of it. That wraps it up for my entire series on pre-code. Thank God it's over. Thank God. Yeah. And so we're going to have something entirely different next weekend, folks. Something, obviously terrific and spooktacular lined up for you guys. So until then, pleasant dreams.